All right, let's talk about the future of design, because honestly, it's already here. Today, we're diving into the UX design trends that are completely changing how we interact with technology. We're going way beyond just pretty screens. We're talking about a digital world that's starting to think, to feel, and even predict what we need. So yeah, let's get right into it.
Have you ever just stopped and noticed how your phone or your favorite app or even your smart speaker seems to get you? Like it knows what you want almost before you do. Well, I can tell you that's not magic, and it's definitely not a coincidence. It's all because of this huge evolution in how we design our digital lives.
So, how did we even get to this point? To really understand where design is going, we've got to take a quick look back at where it's been.
If you think back to the 2000s, it was all about one thing: usability. Could you find stuff? That was it. Think about those old Yahoo directories. I mean, they worked, but man, were they clunky. Then the 2010s hit, and boom, the mobile-first revolution. Suddenly, every single website had to work on your phone. But now, in the 2020s, it's a whole new ballgame. We're designing for emotion, we're plugging in AI, and accessibility is finally becoming a top priority.
Now, you might be thinking there are a million different trends out there, and you're not wrong. But here's the thing, they're not just random. They all pretty much boil down to three major massive shifts that are happening as we speak. Let's break them down.
Okay, our first big shift is this move to become more human-centric. This is all about designing with empathy. It's about making our technology more thoughtful, more inclusive, and way more emotionally aware. And that immediately brings up a huge, critical question, right? We live in a world that runs on data, our data. So with all that information flying around, how does any company build real, genuine trust with its users? The answer? Well, it means we have to completely rethink our design priorities. And that rethinking leads directly to ethical and privacy-centered design. This isn't just a nice little feature anymore. It's absolutely essential. It means being upfront about how data is used and, maybe most importantly, putting you, the user, back in the driver's seat.
Just look at what Apple's doing. They've basically made privacy a brand promise. When an app wants to track you, you get a simple pop-up. Yes or no. You are in command. That kind of straightforward transparency is exactly how you build trust in 2024.
Now, being human-centered also means you've got to design for all humans. And that's where inclusive and accessible design comes in. This isn't some niche corner of design. It's about making sure your product actually works for everyone, no matter their ability, their background, or what device they're holding. And what's really cool is seeing the big players get on board. Microsoft, for example, put out this incredible inclusive design toolkit, basically giving designers the resources to build better, more accessible products. And it's a win-win, really. It's the right thing to do, plus it opens up your product to a much wider audience.
All right, moving on to shift number 2, the intelligence layer. This is where AI stops being just a buzzword and becomes a real, functional part of our day-to-day digital lives. This is where tech gets smart.
The heart of this whole thing is AI-driven personalization. You could think of it like an engine that's constantly learning from everything you do. Every click, every search, every like, to build an experience that feels like it was literally made just for you.
Spotify's Discover Weekly playlist is the perfect example of this. It's just so good, right? It's not a random mix. It's this hyper-personalized experience that's built from your unique taste in music. It feels like a friend made you a mixtape, and that kind of personal touch is just incredibly powerful.
This intelligence is also changing how we interact with tech. We're moving beyond screens and keyboards, voice and conversational interfaces. Think Alexa, think Google Assistant. Give us a much more natural, hands-free way to talk to our devices. And that alone makes technology so much more accessible to so many more people.
Okay, but let's be real. All this amazing smart tech comes with some pretty big challenges. AI personalization is fantastic for creating relevant experiences, but it forces us to ask tough questions about data privacy and hidden biases in the algorithms. And yeah, voice is awesome and inclusive, but it can still get tripped up by different accents or just a noisy room. It's a constant balancing act for designers. And that brings us to our third and final shift, which, for me, is maybe the most exciting. It's all about blurring the lines, merging our physical world with the digital world to create entirely new realities. This is the world of immersive experiences.
augmented reality, virtual reality. You might even hear this term phygital, which sounds a bit weird, but it's just a mashup of physical and digital. These technologies are either layering digital stuff on top of our world or taking us to completely new ones. It's changing everything, from how we shop to how we learn.
A fantastic, super practical example is the IKEA Place app. You just use your phone, point it at your living room, and boom, you can see exactly how that new sofa is going to look. It's not a gimmick, it's AR solving a real problem, taking all the guesswork out of a big purchase. It's genius.
But creating these really seamless, blended experiences, it isn't always about the big, flashy stuff like VR. A lot of the time, the magic is in the tiny little details. I'm talking about micro-interactions, those small, subtle animations that give you feedback and make an interface feel responsive and just alive.
Think about that little burst of confetti or hearts when you like a post. That animation does more than just say, yep, you liked it. It gives you this tiny little spark of delight. And all those little details, they add up. They create an experience that feels polished, thoughtful, and honestly just more satisfying to use.
So let's pull all this together. When we look at all these pieces, what does it all really mean? How are these shifts actually designing the future that we're all going to be living in? The big thing to remember here is that these three shifts, making tech more human, more intelligent, and more immersive, are completely connected. You can't have one without the others. I mean, what's the point of a super smart, immersive experience if it isn't also human-centered, if it isn't respectful and accessible? These three forces are all working together, shaping our digital world. And that really leaves us with one final and honestly pretty massive question. These design tools are incredibly powerful. They can create experiences that are more helpful, more delightful, more connected than anything we've ever seen before. But as the people who build and use this technology, we really have to ask ourselves what kind of world we actually want to create with it. The choices we're making right now are the ones that will define that future.